When my boss laughed in my face after I asked for a well-deserved promotion, he had no idea that he was looking at the woman who secretly owned the entire digital framework of his enterprise. I sat in that dimly lit hotel room, watching him casually adjust his expensive smartwatch without an ounce of remorse. The chilling realization hit me that 6 years of my life had been completely stolen by a corporate thief. I had spent countless sleepless nights building their framework from absolute trash until it ran more efficiently than a luxury sports car. My dedication resulted in dozens of deployed modules and massive pivots, yet my reward was total disrespect. He told me that raises were only meant for big-picture thinkers, leaving me to stare at the ceiling in pure disbelief. It was at that exact moment that I decided to destroy his empire. The core architecture that they proudly showcased to every single wealthy investor was born in my damp basement apartment. They assumed they owned my labor, but a hidden document on an old backup drive proved otherwise. Years ago, I had independently filed a federal patent for the dynamic predictive load system during a chaotic tech summit. Nobody at the firm cared about legal filings back then, which left the ownership entirely in my hands. For a long time, I forgot about that legal document because burnout and corporate manipulation had clouded my mind. However, his cruel laughter became the ultimate catalyst that forced me to finally weaponize my hidden asset. I spent 4 intense days secretly rebuilding the entire prototype inside a secure private network where their tracking software could never detect me. My fingers flew across the keyboard as a plan for absolute reclamation took shape. By the following Friday, I secured a confidential meeting with Zenith Systems, the fiercest competitor in our industry. I met with their engineering director, a sharp woman named Vivian who possessed zero patience for corporate games. When I slid the data drive across the glass table, she examined the registration number and realized I held the keys to the kingdom. We both knew this action would trigger an absolute war. Vivian recognized that my former employer had constructed their entire cloud network on a massive legal violation. Within hours, the legal team of Zenith Systems drafted a major licensing proposal that completely guaranteed my financial freedom. I also uploaded a highly advanced version of the engine that solved processing issues their rivals had been struggling with for years. The trap was officially set, and the countdown to their destruction had begun. The next morning, I delivered a formal notice regarding intellectual property infringement directly to the inbox of my executive director. When he finally opened the document, he undoubtedly panicked because it contained a severe warning from the legal department of Zenith Systems. Within an hour, my corporate access was completely revoked, but my personal phone began exploding with frantic messages from terrified managers demanding answers. The furious text messages from Brandon escalated from desperate pleas for rationality to outright insults and vicious name-calling. He called me a vindictive child who did not understand the consequences of my actions, but I understood perfectly. My legal counterattack included an extensive timeline of code updates that proved my solitary authorship beyond any shadow of doubt. The corporate lawyers tried to claim there was a simple misunderstanding, but we had the receipts. An engineer from my old department secretly sent me an internal memo detailing the absolute chaos unfolding behind closed doors. The executives were frantically purging communication histories and canceling high-profile speaking engagements for Brandon because the legal risk was too severe. Seeing their panic gave me a profound sense of satisfaction, and I framed that message as a reminder of my triumph. The public narrative was about to shift completely. Vivian used her industry connections to ensure that the brewing legal battle reached the front page of major technology publications. A massive headline soon exposed the startup darling for stealing vital code from a female engineer, featuring a glaring side-by-side comparison of my diagrams. The article even highlighted a specific spelling error that I had made in the original framework, proving without a doubt that the work belonged to me. The true reckoning occurred on Monday morning during the highly anticipated quarterly earnings broadcast of the company. While the chief executive spoke to investors using empty corporate phrases, I monitored their live system telemetry from my desk. A former colleague had granted me administrative access to their server network, allowing me to watch the digital infrastructure crumble in real time. Zenith Systems had officially activated my superior engine across the street. As their core network buckled under the sudden shift, system latency multiplied and widespread authentication failures began to spike. To make matters worse for them, a prominent Fortune 100 client publicly announced they were moving to Zenith Systems. The online developer community immediately recognized my signature coding style from past tech demonstrations, causing my professional network to overflow with incredible job offers and praise. By noon, the stock price of the company plummeted drastically, forcing regulators to temporarily halt all public trading. I sat in a quiet coffee shop with Vivian, watching the entire corporate empire unravel on a tablet screen. Brandon was terminated by the board of directors that same evening for gross negligence and failing to disclose the severe legal conflict. The man who had mocked my worth was now utterly ruined. The following morning, I arrived at the corporate headquarters just to witness Brandon being escorted out of the building. I held an envelope containing a copy of his termination letter along with a memory drive labeled with a simple message. I told him he should have granted me the raise when he had the chance. He stared at me through the glass doors in complete silence, realizing his throne was gone. Their desperate interim management team attempted to file a ridiculous lawsuit against me, claiming that I had intentionally sabotaged their enterprise. The legal experts at Zenith Systems immediately crushed the complaint by proving my patent existed long before my employment contract. Faced with the threat of an extensive code audit that would expose their deep corruption, the executives quickly dropped the lawsuit without a single public word. Building a successful future at Zenith Systems became the ultimate reward, as my name was proudly displayed on the primary product. I was finally surrounded by talented professionals who respected my intellect instead of stealing credit for my innovations. One evening, a group of young interns told me that my public victory had inspired them to enter the field. I realized that my old laptop had successfully ignited a massive revolution. A week later, Brandon sent a desperate email asking if I believed the conflict was truly over, but his influence had vanished. He attempted to launch a sloppy copycat business with venture capital, but our superior framework quickly captured all his remaining clients. Standing on stage at a major technology conference before thousands of people, I shared my journey of reclamation. I advised every ignored creator to secure their rights and light the match.